Welcome, everybody, to another edition of World Championship Wrestling here in TEW 2020, and it's time for the first show of 2005, which will be the first ever WCW Draft. But before that, got a bit of housekeeping to do at the top of things. First, if you have any prizes from the Mayhem Tournament, please go ahead and respond to the email I've sent out. Obviously, all the important stuff has been figured out. I just need some more dev signings and a couple other matches and such, so we'll just need to figure that out. But if you're one of 3 people who I've sent out emails to and you haven't replied at all, please reply as soon as you can. And also to anybody stumbling upon this, as this is going to be the marked as an episode number 1, and you're wondering what the hell is going on. This is a series that I started originally back in TEW 2016, as I started with, WCW, just with the people basically that would be included, after if Eric Bischoff actually bought it back in June of, way back in the beginning of 2001, and slowly but surely, I've slowly rebuilt things where it's now 2005. The company is still behind the WWF, but it's not it's basically in the, battle, it's basically WWF having a 94, 95, and us having a 90, 91 most months. We now have 2 shows, 2 A shows, a Nitro and Revolution, and we have a decent women's division, including signings such as Trish Stratus, now Trisha Sky, Lita, now Lizzie Dumas, and Joni Lawler, who is one of the biggest stars in professional wrestling at the moment. And we have a wild and diverse roster, including new stars like Shane Helms, Kanyon, Sean O'Hare, Chuck Palumbo, along with longtime WCW stalwarts like Booker T, Jeff Jarrett, Sting, and Ric Flair. And honestly, not that many signings from the WWF, at least not at the moment. I'm trying to think, was there anybody big coming from WWF? And new stars such as Monty Brown. But if you're, surprised or confused about anything that's going on in the save as I go along, there's a year-end review that's a few videos back that will be, that's on the page, but I hope you enjoy. But regardless, before I get to that, we do have the actual year-end awards as is tradition. You'll see the link in the description. So just to go over that, we've got the rest of the year, which is basically Booker, Eddy Guerrero, Joni Lawler, Monty Brown, Rob Van Dam, Sean O'Hare, and Shane Helms. So basically all world champions, plus Joni Lawler, who had a dominant reign as a women's champion, and Monty Brown, who, whatever you want to say about him, is still undefeated, has not been pinned here in WCW since making his way up to the promotion at the start of the year. For tag team of the year, we have Alex Wright and Chavo Guerrero, America's Most Wanted, Jason Judd and Paul London, Cease and Morningstar, and the Silver City Rollers. So basically, all the tag champs, including Alex Wright and Chavo, who had a pretty decent reign, and America's Most Wanted. So, who do you think was tag team of the year? We have women's wrestler of the year, which was Celine Cartier, Gail Kim, Joni Lawler, Nikita Colt, or Trisha Sky. Now, this may be sort of obvious here, but of course, Joni and Trisha both didn't really show up till the midpoint of the year. So maybe you want to, give a prize to the women who are here for the entire calendar year here in WCW. Then for the match of the year, we have Eddy Guerrero versus Vampiro at Showdown in the Sun in Mexico. We have Booker T versus Rob Van Dam at Wrestle War 2004, which I believe was a 99. Eddy Guerrero versus Booker at Sacrifice, where Booker won the title. Vampiro versus Morningstar at Slam Breeder 04, which after, Mrs. Morningstar turned on Vampiro. Sean O'Hare versus Booker, which was Sean O'Hare's first title defense, after calling in his shot and winning the title. King versus Kid, which was just a really high-red match. And 2 big matches from Starrcade 2004. Sean O'Hare versus Chuck Palumbo, which is one of our biggest storyline matches. And AJ Styles versus Eddy Guerrero, which I think was our second or third best match of the year. And then we have our moments of the year, which include Boston Guerrero and Ray Jr. celebrating the Mexican crowd at Arena Mexico. At the Nitro after Showdown in the Sun, we have Messias and Morningstar turning on Vampiro, with Booker winning the world title from Eddy Guerrero. We have Joni Lawler debuting as a wrestler and winning the gauntlet for the title shot. We have Sean O'Hare calling his shot and winning the WCW World Championship. We have Monty Brown sending Goldberg into the WCW structure at the top of the ramp at Havoc. And we have Messias throwing David Flair into the ocean in front of Ric Flair and Sting at Boardwalk in the lead up to Starrcade. And then for our face character of the year, we have Celine Cartier, who never said die, even as she was facing people such as Joni Lawler or Nikki Colt. We have Kanyon giving out cutters to everybody who deserved it. We have Rob Van Dam, who's a whole effing show the whole year and laid back. We have Sean O'Hare, who tried to create a future shock. And they have Sting and Ric Flair, who showed up at the end of the year being old gunslingers playing dirty because they were facing monsters. Then we have the heel of the year, who of course was Booker with his Queen Charmel. We have Chuck Palumbo, a badass biker who turned on his friend at the end of the year. We have Jeff Jarrett, who who ended up choosing his chosen few. We have Johnny Lawler as the evolution of women's wrestling, and we have Jonathan Toro, who is creating his own Roman Empire. For our feud of the year, we have Goldberg versus Bonnie Brown, Johnny Lawler versus the entire WCW Women's Division, Kanyon versus Kidman, who faced off multiple times near the end of the year, the Chosen Few versus the Horseman Remnants at the beginning of the year, Sean O'Haire versus Chuck Palumbo after a Palumbo turn on him, Sean O'Haire versus the Deadpool at the beginning of the year, Rob Van Dam versus Shane Helms both in the summer and at the end of the year once Helms was champion, and Trisha Sky and Friends versus Captivation after they both came into the company. Then you can give me your favorite wrestler, favorite tag team WCW, and then you can choose your favorite stable out of Captivation, the Chosen Few, the Helms Legacy, the Roman Legion, and the Triumvirate. And then you have any other comments, suggestions, or thoughts. So just go follow the link, and choose who you think should be the, who should win the awards. I'll be back in just a moment with actual Nitro. Okay, we start out with Starrcade highlights, basically with your friend and mine. With basically clips of the big matches of the show, which include Monty Brown getting the pounce on Bill Goldberg, Chuck Palumbo actually getting the win over Sean O'Haire, and Rob Van Dam winning the WCW World Championship. This gets a 67 because it's basically just like clips and pictures and lots of by the by the pay-per-view, or I guess maybe at this point also by the DVD when it comes out in like a month. And then it's time for the WCW Draft to begin. So first comes out the general manager of the man in charge of Nitro, who is Eric Bischoff, and then out comes the man who will be generally managing Revolution, none other than Teddy Long. They go over the rules, which is again the Cruiserweight division is locked to Nitro, the Women's division is locked to Revolution. There will be 15 choices. This year, to start off, it'll begin on Nitro. So Nitro will get the first pick. We'll get the first 8 picks. And then on Revolution, it will be 7. It'll be the last 7 picks, but Revolution will get the first choice on that day. And then in addition, tag teams have to be chosen if they're chosen together. That costs 2 picks. So you basically skip your next pick. And all other wrestlers who are not picked in the draft will be open free agents to choose which show they want to be on afterwards, unless they're part of either the Cruiserweight division or the Women's division. So they start out. So let's get this rolling. So I start out first with Eric Bischoff saying, despite what you may think, since of course all the champions, including the world champion Rob Van Dam, the tag team champions Mrs. Morningstar, the US champion Jonathan Toro, and the TV champion Jason Jett are all exempt from this draft, that left only one man that I had to draft. And we might not be best friends, but I know this is what's best for business and what will bring the best ratings for Nitro. There's only one choice. The man, Bill Goldberg. Goldberg comes out to a big pop, says to Bischoff, you're damn right, I'm the man. And I may have stumbled at Starrcade, but I'm still the man here in WCW. And I'll prove it right here on Monday Nitro. So big pop for that. And Teddy Long says, player, you're right. Goldberg's the man. But Revolution is part of the future. And whether you may not like his tactics, one man proved last night he wants to be part of the future here in World Championship Wrestling. That's why I'm glad to have him on Revolution. And that man is Chuck Palumbo. Big heel pop for that as Palumbo comes out to the boos of the crowd, along with Raven Ring. He says, basically takes my side and says, yeah, y'all can boo, but Teddy Long made the right choice right now. To prove why he's already a better man in charge than you ever were. Because he realizes that I should have been the man rising up in this company. And last night, I proved it when I took out your golden boy, Sean O'Haire, and won the match at Starrcade. So when it's time for Revolution, the world title shot, remember Teddy, there's only one man who deserves that shot. So there we go. There you go. The first picks in the WCW draft are Bill Goldberg going to Nitro and Chuck Palumbo going to Revolution. And then, so this got an 83. Honestly, not the best segment, unfortunately. Tony Schiavone and Scott Hudson were weak. Segment deserved better announcing, which I don't know. They must have like ducked under something, or I'm not actually sure what happened here. Let me see if there's anything else that gives me any momentum. I mean, some momentum. Announcing work. Okay. Oof. Tony Schiavone and Scott Hudson both getting penalized for announcing work is unfortunate. And that might mean it might be time to do some overwhelming changes. Anyway, moving on. We then come. Oh, and then Eric. Right, sorry. And then Eric Bischoff says, during the first draft, it's time to show off what will make Nitro the best wrestling show on television anytime this week. And that's with a big time Cruiserweight match. So then we get some 6 members come out, and all 6 members who we believe will be part of the Cruiserweight division, including Great Suzuki, making his debut here on TV since he can't work Sundays, as a match, decent match. Io Skipper, Prince Jose, and Jerry Lynn defeat Yang, Dean Malenko, and the Great Suzuki in a 53 when Prince Jose pins Yang with butterfly DDT. So, this is your typical, steal the show match, everybody hitting their spots. Malenko hitting probably some big suplexes on, like, Malenko and Lynn open things up with, like, basically your typical, like, indie standoff. Then Jose gets to cheat a little, Yang flies around, Suzuki flies around, hits his big spots. By the end, Prince Jose is able to hit Yang with butterfly DDT for the pinfall victory and the win for the heels. This gets a 61 overall. Great Suzuki gets a 52, Dean Malenko gets a 53, Yang gets a 48, Lynn gets a 53, Great Jose gets a 52, Io Skipper gets a 59. And post-match, as the babyfaces are commiserating, Yang pushes Malenko and Suzuki away when they go to help him up and walks to the back as this gets a 39, and it is an interesting little angle. And we come back for commercial for the next pick in the WCW 2005 WCW Draft. And that the next pick is made by Eric Bischoff, and he says, well, there's a lot of talk about the future. There's a lot of talk about the past. But there's one man who in the last year proved he is the present and future of World Championship Wrestling. And I'm proud that my second choice is yet another former world champion, bringing out none other than Sean O'Haire. Big pop for that as O'Haire comes down to the cheers of the crowd. O'Haire says, I'm glad to be on Nitro, but I want to make this clear. My business is not done with Chuck Palumbo, no matter what television show he's on. And like Taylor says, Clay, you're Eric's in charge of you now. And let me make this clear. Your business is over with him because Chuck Palumbo is part of Revolution and has his own matches to worry about. O'Haire says, doesn't matter where Palumbo is, he's going to face the future Shock, no matter who likes it or not. Jay says, well, we'll have to see about that. But, yes, you got 2 world champions. But, after my pick, I can guarantee I'm going to have 2 future world champions, Eric. Let me bring out the man who took out the man last night, Monty Brown. Big, pop / mix, mostly heel pop, as, obviously he's a big star when it comes out. There's a stare down with O'Haire, for next mix says, see, Tay Long knows business, and he knows. Last night, I took out your number 1 pick, Eric. I proved it's my time now. And sooner or later, I'm going back to world champion. Because whoever has that belt enough to face that pounce. So there you go. There you go. Our number 2 picks, Sean O'Haire going to Nitro and Monty Brown going to Revolution. But yeah, so this got a 90 overall, so really good angle. Bischoff and Teddy Long are still struggling. Shawnee and Hudson are pretty weak on the announcing desk. I might take Scott Hudson off just because he's not good at all, unfortunately. And we might be in the business for a Tony Schiavone replacement, unfortunately. But let's get rolling. I was going to move forward. Right. Oh, right. And then Eric Bischoff says, well, Monty, you may think in your future, but right now I'm going to prove why Sean O'Haire is a present. So Sean, get ready for your first match as an official Nitro-only member. So O'Haire's in the ring, and he's ready for a fight because he's a good babyface, and out comes Sean Stasiak. And basically, this is just a way to put over O'Haire. Sean gets a little bit of brawling in, but at the end, it's Sean O'Haire, and he just, power slam, clothesline, Widowmaker, boom. And O'Haire, and also, that's just going to sort of put over, this is him versus another natural-born thriller. And O'Haire gets the big one here on Monday Nitro. And before our next pick, we go backstage, where Jeremy Borash is with the Roman Legion. Of course, Jonathan Toro has the United States title. The Romeo and Swinger are behind him, and Borash asks him, about the possibility of the Roman Legion being broken up. And Toro says, first of all, before you talk about that, you should remember that last night I proved as a leader of the Roman Empire. There's no one can stop me, even a legend such as Rey Mysterio Jr. He did his best, and he is a great wrestler, but no one can stand up to the Roman Empire. And as long as I keep this United States title on my shoulder, both Nitro and Revolution will be part of it. And wherever Romeo or Swinger end up, they will be proud members of the Empire, staking their claim. So decent little promo, putting Toro over, and putting him over. He's going to be on both shows as U.S. champion, and all that good stuff. As this gets a 68, as we move on to, I believe, this next pick in the draft. So Teddy and Eric are, I imagine what's actually happening instead of this being them coming back out, is they're at basically the top of the stage, next to the WCW Tron and whatever. So then back up to them, and Eric says, there's lots to talk about the future, and that is important. But what's also important is the right now, and who are the best wrestlers in the world right at this moment. And I'm proud to draft as my number 3 draft pick one of the best wrestlers on the planet right now, and a man who main evented Starrcade last night, Shane Helms. Big heel pop as Helms comes out and he says, Eric, I'd like to thank you, but let's be honest here. You had 2 picks before me to pick the only man who was in the main event of Starrcade last night that you were able to pick, and he passed on them for a guy who barely is around here anymore, and the guy who I beat for the world title. And as far as you, Long, you picked 2 guys who have done nothing in this business so far. Oh, you beat up Goldberg. Ooh, you fought with the guy who I super kicked into irrelevance. Too bad. See, tonight begins my battle to reclaim my WCW World Championship. Because don't worry, Nitro, your superstar has arrived, and he will bring the double title back around my waist. No matter whether Eric or Teddy you like. Hey, Teddy fires back. Well, Eric, seems like you have another problem child. But I'm proud. Yes, I'm proud to say we're building around the future on Revolution. And as part of that future is the man who claimed his place as the true future of WCW, as the man who will be perhaps for the next decade leading the charge here in World Championship Wrestling, and he'll be leading it on Revolution. So I'm proud to say I'm drafting with the number 3 pick, AJ Styles. Big pop as AJ comes out, and he basically says, he thanks Teddy for giving him a chance, and he says, it's been a wild, winding road. From wrestling in little towns all over Georgia to getting a shot in WCW in front of basically nobody, stumbling in to having a contract as WCW was rebooted, and then slowly rising up rung by rung. And last night, in front of tens of thousands of people and millions watching at home, and the best match on the card, beating a legend in Eddy Guerrero. But I'm proud to say that's only the beginning for AJ Styles. And then he walks away as Shane Helms does not look impressed. So there you go. Another number 3 pick and another world champion, former world champion, and Shane Helms is picked by Nitro, and AJ Styles and Revolution picks AJ Styles. And overall, this got a 95. AJ struggled a little bit, but Eric and Teddy did good. And yeah. So fun stuff. Oh, right. And then to end things, Eric says, officially, according to the rules of the draft, you're not under Teddy Long until Revolution actually begins. And Teddy says, player, what do you put? Get in. Well, AJ was part of the Cruiserweight division for a long time here. Wally was also part of the tag team division. So I say, for his last night here on Nitro, why don't we give this audience one last look at him in the ring in Nitro against, in a non-title match, the WCW Cruiserweight champion, TAKA Michinoku. AJ Styles basically says he's up for it, and Teddy Long says, sure. And so out comes Taka, and they have a match which gets a 72. And a special, and Eric Bischoff, mentions as this is an exhibition, so I don't have a short time limit. But Taka and AJ fight to a draw in 10 minutes. It gets a 72. AJ gets an 83. Taka gets a 58. You can imagine how good this match is. Taka, mid-2000s Taka, flying around, hitting lots of moves. AJ's hitting his big moves. Taka probably plays subtle heel because, he's the Japanese guy against AJ Styles. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. But they fight back and forth. But, AJ's, Taka goes for the TAKA Michinoku driver, but AJ gets out of it. AJ goes for a style clash, but he gets out of it. And they're basically trading shots as the bell rings. And then afterwards, after a moment, there's a handshake. Taka rolls out, AJ raises his hands to the crowd and walks away over the Revolution. So, after the commercial, we're back up at the top of the ramp, and Eric says, another draft pick, another former world champion, and a man who had a disappointing point last night, but who still is one of the best wrestlers on the roster, and a man who this crowd loves. My number 4 draft pick is none other than Kanyon. Pop for that as Kanyon comes out and basically says, doesn't matter what show I'm on, where I'm at, nobody's better than Kanyon. And for anybody on Nitro, Kanyon cutters are on them as I get back to the top of this company. Jay Long says, Kanyon's impressive. But, what's even more impressive? Not a guy who was champion one time. A champion who was champion not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, not 5 times, but player 6 times. My draft pick is Booker T. Mix pop as Booker has been feud with Jeff Jarrett along with Sharmell as he comes out and says, that's right. Revolution will be a continuation of my reign at the top of this business. And after last night, I'm going to refocus on who's in front of me. Because Sucker Booker T's coming back for his world title. Can you dig that? And before they all leave, Bischoff says, oh, wait, I almost forgot. Kanyon, I want you to have a big match in the main event here on Nitro. And Kanyon's fine, ready for it. But it's somebody you've had some runs before, and you'll have another shot at tonight. And Booker, he's getting ready to fight. Booker says, no, not you. I want you in the main event tonight against the guy who got the biggest run of his career last night on Starrcade, Chuck Palumbo. It's Palumbo's last night here on Nitro, so let's send him off with a nice little gift of a main event match against a former world champion King. Pop for that, as we now have our main event. Yeah, so number 4 picks are, of course, Kanyon on Nitro and Booker T on Revolution. And overall, because these guys are freaking great, this got a 98. Booker and Taeyong improvised well. Kanyon came across well, and all that good stuff. So, really fun stuff. And yeah, nothing much to say about this. We're just going to move forward. And then we have a quick backstage promo where we have Austin Aries sitting in front of his locker and says, you may not know who I am, but I'm ready to make an impact here in WCW. And just like other young wrestlers who have come into this company and risen up, like Paul London, AJ Styles, and others, you're going to learn the name Austin Aries. But the difference between me and them is I'm not here to get your sympathy or your empathy. I'm here to prove why I'm the best in the world. And there's nobody in the Cruiserweight division who can stop. So decent little promo, setting himself as an upstanding superstar and as a heel. So this gets a 49. And then, coming back from commercial, Radha Dam's music hits to a big pop as he comes out with the World Championship and a smile on his face as he comes out the crowd and says, tonight's a big night for WCW. Draft, guys going to different shows. But here's the thing. I'm the world big champion. And tonight's everything since last night has been a party here in Philadelphia. Big pop for that. And I'm proud that I won this title in Philadelphia. And I'm going to be proud to defend this title against anybody who earned a shot, whether it's on Nitro, Revolution, all across it at live events across the country, US, Mexico, Japan, Europe, it doesn't matter. Because I'm the world champion. That means I'm the best in this business. That means I'm the whole effing show. And there's nobody that can deny that anymore. Well, guess there is somebody who can deny that, as out comes Shane Helms to a big heel pop, and he says, Rob, I'm not going to deny it. You beat me last night. You got the pin 1, 2, 3, so congratulations. But you beat me once. And guess what? I was the world champion for a reason. And part of the reason is I'm not some dumbass who's going to walk away once I lose the world title, off to get involved in something else. So, whether you'd like it or not, I'm going to get another shot at that world championship. I'm going to prove what happened at Starrcade was nothing more than a lucky break, and whole entire company and city in your favor. And even that, you barely beat me. You barely beat the greatest United States champion of all time, and the man who will become the true superstar in this business. So look out, Rob, because you're still the hunted, and Shane Helms is still the hunter. And Van Dam says, look, talk to Bischoff, or if you have to, but I'll be happy to kick your ass again. So there you go. Our Aries and Helms still locked in the feud here to start off the year, as this gets a 99 because these guys are really good. Unfortunately, Helms has hit that pop cap, but we can still probably do one more match. Whether when that match will happen, we'll just have to see. And then after that, we come a commercial to Eric Bischoff and Teddy Long at the top of the ramp. And then they start out with Eric saying, Teddy, you did get me getting a 6-time world champion, but there's another multi-time world champion in this company right now. And he's somebody who I'd be proud to rise to the top once again. He's had a great year getting on his own and creating his own chosen few. So the next draft pick for Nitro is none other than Jeff Jarrett. Big heel pop as Jarrett comes out. And he says, you're damn right, Eric. You see, once again, all you slapnuts on the nuts will have to remember, I rose to the top and I became the chosen one. And now with my chosen few, we will be the most devastating group on Nitro, night after night, week after week, pay-per-view after pay-per-view. And it's just another time, Van Dam, for that belt is around my waist. And Tay Long says, is there anything you picked here? Because yes, he's been a world champion before, and he had his great 2004. But a man who had, I would argue, an even better 2004 player is the man who last night shocked some of the world when he won, and more importantly, holds the most important thing in professional wrestling today, an opportunity whenever he wants. So, I'm proud to say, on Revolution, will the man with the called shot, Billy Kidman. Another heel pop, as he says, well. As sort of Jared and Kidman have look at each other and says, Jeff, have fun on Nitro. But what's important here is that, Teddy, let's have a conversation here. Because you see, Teddy, I need the triumvirate behind me. Because we came together to rise up against those in WCW who would stand against us, who didn't want us at the top. But Teddy, I'm giving you a shot because you're new around here, at least in your current position. Because to be honest, in your other positions, you didn't have any power, but now you do. So, as the man who holds the called shot, when you get a chance, remember the name Storm and Awesome. Or else. Big heel pop for that, as there we go. As Kid walks away, Jarrett was about to walk, he says, Kid Bischoff says, no, Jarrett. You want to prove you're at the top of Nitro? And it's time for you to prove that self right here on Nitro on live TV. So then, yeah, first, going to Nitro is Jeff Jarrett, and as part of Revolution is Billy Kidman. And this got a 96 because all these guys are really good. Again, Kidman's another guy who's I'm kind of worried has hit his pop cap, which would be unfortunate. But I mean, that would also just sort of serve him good. Anyway, but yeah, Jeff Jarrett is in the ring, and out comes his opponent, Tajiri. And they have a fun little undercard match, honestly. Like, this is a back and forth match. Jarrett gets some strikes in. Jarrett gets a little bit of brawling in. But in the end, like, we sort of know what's going to be the result here. Jarrett eventually hits the stroke and actually gets a clean victory over Tajiri here on Nitro. As this gets a 78. Jarrett gets an 86. Tajiri gets an 80, but there's no storyline, so it starts to hurt a little. But a fun little, like, match on Nitro to put over both guys. But Jarrett gets to look like a top guy. And then we're back up to the ramp where Bischoff and Teddy are, and they actually come up and then like they make a handshake. And Teddy says, "Me and Eric have made an agreement that the next two picks will both pick tag teams that we want as the core of our tag team divisions. We don't know who we're going to pick, so Bischoff, let's get going." All right. There's want to talk about the future, and you're right. Building the future is an important part of Nitro, which is why I'm glad to have the Cruiserweight division, where stars like AJ Styles, Rey Mysterio Jr., Kidman, and Paul London have all risen up. And I'm sure we'll see lots and lots rise up in the next few years, only on Nitro. But another part where you can create new stars is the tag team division. And my choice to come over to Nitro and be part of the tag team division are two of the rising stars here in WCW who had a rough draw last night in the tag team gauntlet, but I'm sure will rise to the top. And they are the Hart Legacy. Big pop for that. And honestly, like, Jack Evans is really goddamn over. So the gimmick here I'm going with is like, he's basically like, he's basically Jungle Boy. Like, in the sense that like the moderately young female fans are really fucking behind him. Like, heartthrobbish status, which is hilarious considering probably Teddy Hart wants that, but yeah. So, they come out, like, and this is going to be a quicker segment because, like, neither of the picks here are going to be great on the mic, guys. And, basically, Teddy says, we're glad to be here on Nitro, and we're going to win back those tag titles sooner than later for our legacy. And Teddy says, honestly, Eric, that's a good pick. Can't say anything bad about it. But, you see, I'm making this choice not because I was threatened to, but because the man was correct. As part of the tag team division, you need a solid fundamental strength. And that's why my next pick to be part of the tag team division is none other than Lance Storm and Mike Awesome. Boo. Storm and Awesome coming out with April Hunter. And there's a stare down with the Hart Legacy. It looks like it could be a fight, but Storm takes the mic and says, as somebody from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, boo. I'm glad that Teddy Long made the right choice and remembered why he wants the best tag team and the best group of professional wrestlers in the business today together. And Awesome says, Carnage is coming to Revolution. They walk away, and there we go. This gets an 80. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me actually do that. So there we go. 6th pick goes to Hart Legacy, and 6th pick is Revolution. Storm and Awesome, as I remember, are now complete on Revolution. And if you're wondering why the normal contenders weren't chosen, well, we'll get to that on Revolution. But yeah, this gets an 80 because it's a shorter segment, and also because, like, Teddy Hart, Jack Evans, Lance Storm, Mike Awesome, not what you call great mic workers. And then, as we're going commercial, there is a little burst of static and, like, some weird, like, visions of, like, weird masks, fire, more static, a ringing, like, siren, and then a distorted voice saying, I have been gone for too long. And what I've seen in my absence is a disturbing lack of chaos. And part of that chaos being beaten down is a message that must be destroyed. And when I return, who is returning. They will never see it coming. And then the message, then go back to the static. And of course, I'm not revealing who this mystery man is, but he got a mastermind gimmick. Got initial rating of adequate, which means, fuck. That's unfortunate. Large penalty charisma, but large piece of star quality. Okay, so that'll be interesting. But yeah, somebody new is coming up to the roster, and he's a mystery, and he wants to destroy the message. So he looks like he's going after Missy's Morningstar. We'll have to see what happens with that. But then we come back to commercial, and for the last draft picks of the night, Eric Bischoff says, honestly, the fact it took this long to get this man on his roster is sort of a mistake on both parts, even though every other member of Nitro is, of course, fantastic. But I'm glad here to get him on number 7 pick, another former world champion, and somebody who you could argue is still one of the best wrestlers in the world. He is a threat to anybody on the Nitro roster, from the top to the bottom. Give it up for the number 7 draft pick and the newest member of Nitro, Eddy Guerrero. Big heel pop as Eddy comes out, and he says, basically, Eric goes for a handshake, and Eddy just sort of slaps away. He says, I say, tonight is the last night tonight is the first night that everybody who ends up on Nitro will be on notice. Do not get in my way. Do not get in the way of Guerrero family values becoming ascendant. Or else I'll have to take you apart piece by piece. And Teddy Long says, have fun with that, Eric. And then he says, see, Eddy's a fantastic wrestler. But I wanted a great wrestler as well. But I want somebody who I think is just that much better. And then he, of course, look at the set as Ray Jr.'s music hits. And he comes out to a big pop from the crowd. And he shakes hands with Teddy. He says, he's glad to be part of Revolution, wrestling some of the best wrestlers on the planet. And he, it looks like he wants to fight Ray again, but Eric holds him back. And Ray just sort of nods at him and walks away. And before, and as the announcer is put over, that now Eddy Guerrero and Mr. Jr. are on separate shows. So are Sean O'Hare and Chuck Palumbo, and so are Goldberg and Monty Brown. This gets it, and there we go. So, last pick on the draft for Nitro is Eddy Guerrero going to Nitro, and the last pick on Nitro for Revolution is Ray Jr. So that means the roster so far is Nitro has Bill Goldberg, Sean O'Hare, Kanyon, Jeff Jarrett, Shane Helms, Heart Legacy, and Eddy Guerrero. If you notice, everybody outside the tag team are all former world champions. And on Revolution, we've got Chuck Palumbo, Monty Brown, Kidman, AJ Styles, Booker, Storm and Awesome, and Ray Jr. If you notice, the only former world champion on that list is, of course, Booker. Of course, there's people who, who have had world title shots before, and who may even become world champion this year. We'll just have to see. And overall, this gets an 85. Just solid little stuff. Ray's not the best guy on the mic, and there we go. Then it's time for our main event, I believe. Right. Oh, right. And then we come back from commercial with Teddy Long basically leaving for Revolution, getting a phone call, and basically says, all right, get to Revolution, and I can guarantee you a spot on the roster and a big debut that nobody will see coming. Eric Bischoff will never see it come player as he gets in a car and drives away. So it looks like Teddy Long has somebody new that can appear on Revolution that Eric Bischoff does not know about. And then we have our main event, which gets an 89. Lack of psychology, but it's still got an 89. Okay. Scott Evans is not the best, but anyway. I mean, honestly, a back and forth match. Again, the matches tonight aren't that important, but it's Chuck Palumbo's last ride. But back and forth, Kane and Palumbo doing Kane and Palumbo things, brawling, finisher blocking, but in the end, ref bump, Shiner comes out, attacks Palumbo from behind, hits him with the Widowmaker. Palumbo, Kanyon's able to Canyon Cutter, and then the Flatliner in quick succession, and gets a pinfall victory to end Nitro on a happy note, as Palumbo gets screwed over after, beating O'Hare last night, and Kanyon gets a big win as it gets an 89. And overall, the show itself gets a 92. Okay. Good stuff. Honestly, I was sort of worried because, obviously, on a normal Nitro, we'll have actual angles and such and building up other people. And it's going to be interesting, once we get everybody on the roster, how the shows actually do. Honestly, one part of why I sort of, loaded up Nitro with the more star-heavy show is, we still have, actual goals to meet with the various TV companies. So we'll just have to see about that. But, I hope, it's not that bad. But regardless, we'll just have to see what happens. Okay, let's see here. So the first thing, which I'm not going to show you because it's some other stuff, is we now have new goals. So this is the first time I'm seeing them on. Okay, so the only new thing is can't hire anybody who has less than 60 in safety. Let me just see if there's anybody on the roster who's less than that. I highly doubt it. At least active wrestler. Honestly, obviously, Tori Wilson won't. But let's see here. Active wrestler. Safety. 59. Okay, so it's literally just Stacy Keebler, Tori Wilson. Okay. Hilarious. Literally the people I thought it might be. Okay. Yeah, let's first small times women's. Okay, so Claudia DeSalle versus Michelle McCool, Tracy versus Tiffany. Interesting. 120 people. Yeah. Okay, so let's look at Raw. Okay, so Raw had Crash Holly defeating Al Snow, Jackie Gata defeating Shaniqua, and then in her debut, Christy Cummings, also known as Christy Ritchie, making her Raw debut, or main roster debut, losing to Molly Holly. We had GBL promo, Edge promo, Big Show defeating Ron Waterman. Let's see, Kurt Angle winning a squash. We had Top Shelf defeating Christian the Big Boys. Chris Jericho defeating Devon Dubois, who's Devon doing a Harlem Renaissance gimmick. Triple H defeating Rikishi in a 94. And then in 99, Edge and Shawn Michaels defeating Vampiro and King. So they got a 90, we got a 92. Let's see, for their TV rating, they got a 2.3 million. For us on TBS, we got a 2. So yeah, that's things. We're still basically about a million behind. No, we're not a million behind. Sorry, I'm sorry. We're about 200,000 behind as far as ratings go. So that's interesting. But that's it for the moment. As I'll be back in just a moment with Revolution. All right, we've got Revolution here, live from a sold-out crowd at the U.S. Bank Arena in Cincinnati, Ohio, as now the two rosters are now sort of on their own paths. I don't have to keep them in the same area anymore because, they're their own rosters and everything, which is good because I can sort of cover more ground and build up some people and, do some other fun stuff. But now we start out with the Triumvirate opening the show, and we start with Kim saying, as the holder of the called shot, this is my show now. Revolution is the show where the Triumvirate will rise and begin that revolution, rising to the top where we belong. It doesn't matter who's put in front of us, they will fall like everybody else has, like Kanyon did, despite everybody thinking he would take this off of me. This is still mine. That means sooner or later, whether you like it or not, I will become the world champion whenever I want to be. Big boost for that, as Ray's Jr.'s music hits, and he comes out to a big pop. And then AJ Styles' music hits, and he comes out to a big pop. And basically AJ takes the mic and says, what I hear is you're running a lot of crap, and you don't want to back it up. But it's the first night of the split here where me and Ray are Revolution only. So we're on a main event tonight. And it seems like you bitches want to fight. Ray Jr. says, so, Ray Jr. adds the same things, he wanted a match tonight. And basically, they agree to a 6-man later. And, Lane Storm points out, you don't have a partner. And AJ and Ray says, don't worry, we'll get one. So this gets an 87. Decent, strong start to the show. started building up, setting up our big 6-man main event of the Triumvirate versus Kidman, Styles, and Mysterio. But then we go up to the top of the ramp where where Bischoff and Long are ready to start the draft, and they go over the same thing that, Revolution had the first, basically the first series of picks tonight, and there will be 7 more picks, and then after that, every wrestler who's not picked, who's not either part of the Cruiserweights or the women's roster, will have the opportunity to choose as free agents which show they want to be on. Sorry, actually, before we go up to the top to Long and Bischoff, we get a graphic showing Johnny Lawler versus Gail Kim tonight in a huge match, as the first match where Johnny Lawler has not been the WCW World Women's Champion in basically 6 months. Anyway, now we can go back to the top of the ramp where Bischoff and Long are waiting to make their picks. And Teddy Long says he's happy to choose a man who's been very successful here in WCW so far and will rise farther on his own here in WCW. And he says the first pick for Revolution tonight on Revolution will be Alex Wright. But for that, as Alex Wright comes out, says he's glad to wrestle on Revolution and that he'll show he can rise to the top in WCW. He's already been a tag team champion, and his next goal is to become a world champion. Hot for that, as Bischoff says, well, that's interesting that you picked him because my pick is very close to this man. In fact, very, very close. See, my pick is his former tag team partner, Chavo Guerrero Jr. Mixed pot for that, as Chavo comes out. There's a bit of a, they're down before they, shake hands. But then Teddy Long says, "Playa, I got an idea. One last night, because like you said, these guys are not officially on the rosters till the end of the draft. So one more night, one tag teams can team up against opponents of my choosing in a tag team match later tonight." Bischoff agrees, and it's on as they shake hands, big hug, and they walk away together. But, big thing as we go to the picture. So yes, Alex Wright is now on Revolution, and Chavo Guerrero Jr., both former tag team champions, are now on Nitro. And overall, this got a 79, which is sort of why these are going to be shorter segments, because, well, these are less important people on the roster. I mean, mostly, I think there's one longer thing, but yeah. The big thing as this gets a 79, as we move forward to, I believe, a backstage statement. Yes, okay, so our first match of the evening is a tag team match as part of the women's division. As the entrance overview, this is now the home of the best women's wrestling in the world now. Of course, some people say that's a lie, but what can you do? As both the decent wrestling, the Little Heat, European Disunion get the big win over Natty Neidhart and Celine Cartier in 9:44 when the Heat Cult submits Natty Neidhart. Story of the match is basically Cartier looks impressive when she's in there. Natty is still slowly rising up. So, basically she gets trapped, gets basically beat up, and Cult finally locks her in a submission, and from nowhere to go, she has to tap out. And European Disunion get the big win here on Revolution in the first women's match of the Revolution only era, as this gets a 66. Cartier gets a 65. Neidhart gets a 40. Yassine Busek gets a 53. And Nikita Colt gets a 63. And then after the match, Natty is upset, but Cartier tries to cheer her up, and basically says, it's no big deal. But Natty, walks off alone, and Celine, walks after her. As we're really the story, as this gets a 40, because these guys aren't the biggest, greatest actors in the world. We're back to Long and Bischoff up the top of the ramp, as Long says he's happy to announce that Revolution will continue to be a show of the future, as the next pick in the draft is a former United States champion and a man with a chance to become one of the brightest stars in the business today, no other than Paul London. When it comes out to a decent pop, slap hands with fans, goes down, he comes down from the ramp, goes down and slaps hands with the fans, and then goes up to the top of the ramp, and says, he's glad to be here. But, tonight, AJ and Ray need some help, so as his first act as a member of the Revolution, he wants to be the sixth man in the sixth man later tonight. Teddy Long agrees, and there you go. And Bischoff says, well, that's nice and all, but See what's interesting, Teddy, is you've missed something incredibly obvious. And I don't know if it's a plan or you thought maybe I did it too, but what you've forgotten is there's two huge members of the roster left on the table. And those two huge members are the current number one contenders for the tag titles, Chris Harris and James Storm, America's Most Wanted. Hot for that as A&W come out. They say, they're going to be glad to be on Nitro. And as part of Nitro, they're going to kick ass and take names. And sorry about your damn luck for your way, even if you're the current tag team champions. It can still make spot for that. As London, basically walked away. And Tay Long says, well, it's impressive, but here's the thing. If these men win the tag titles, they're off your show. In fact, they're going to be on my show as well. And see, I've got faith in them that they can win those tag titles, which means they're going to be on Revolution anyway. So there we go, set that up. And that means that America's Most Wanted are part of Nitro, and Paul London will be on Revolution and in the main event later tonight. And this segment got a 74. Again, you're seeing why I'm doing shorter segments. But then Teddy says, but before you become tag champions, you're still part of the roster, so let's see what you can do in that ring. And they're in the ring, and they get opponents in the form of Fit Finlay and Ernest Miller. Yeah, this is probably Finlay's first time on TV in months. And this is just a complete squash to put them over. Miller gets thrown around, Finlay gets thrown on the outside, and then Miller gets nailed with the catatonic. 1, 2, 3, just a straightforward squash win. This gets a 53. Let's see here. James Storm gets an 82, Chris Harris gets a 78, Miller gets a 35, Finlay gets a 37. But the important thing is, as they're celebrating, to another mixed pop, out come Macy's and Morningstar to the top of the ramp to a big heel response. And as they're staring down at each other, all of a sudden, the same crackling comes over again and says, this is a distraction. The message will be destroyed, but it will not be the hands of these cowboys. It will be the man. It will be when I want to. When I want to tear you apart, piece by piece, in ways nobody else you faced off would ever dream of doing. Count the sands in the hourglass, because Deadpool, your time is up, as the message will be destroyed, one way or another. Then it flips off. Seymour looks like Macias, just still looks Macias, but Morningstar looks confused and walks away, as Harris and Storm just look at each other and shrug. As this gets an 83, they build up the tag title match still, but also, that, hey, these guys, maybe getting distracted by something else. And Bischoff and Long are back at the top of the ramp, and, Long says, well, I'm glad to say, Bischoff, you don't get a pick this round, so I get my pick and then the next pick. But I'm glad to bring out the next member of the Revolution roster. He may be kind of an ass, he may be cocky, but he's a great technical wrestler, Jamie Noble. Out comes Noble to a pop mixed, mainly he'll pop on his, but he's on his own, as there's no Ebony Sable. Out backstage note, Sable wasn't getting any better, his contract was up. Figured it was plus basically things could be restructured due to the, new stuff with the new draft. So out comes Noble on his own. Teddy, welcomes to the roster, and basically Noble says, I've been waiting back there all night on Monday and almost all night tonight. I want a match in that ring to remind everybody in this arena why I'm the man who took out Eddy Guerrero, why I'm the man who was a moment away from defeating Goldberg. I'm the man who's going to rise to the top here on Revolution. So there we go. Noble's part of the Revolution roster. This gets an 85 because he was on his own, and then he gets in the ring as he gets an opponent in the form of Sandman, and he destroys them in about 5 minutes with the guillotine choke. This gets a 70, just Noble going completely over. This gets an 82, and Sandman gets a 46. Just squashed him over, and then Noble celebrates to a 67. Fun stuff, as this is just a way to, put Noble over as a strong member of the roster on his own. Again, he's still a heel, he's still a cocky prick, But for the moment, at least, he's on his own. And then we go backstage to Jeremy Borash with Chuck Palumbo and Raven Rain, as Borash asks Palumbo about, if he has any remarks on the rest of the draft picks, and Palumbo says, why do you think I would pay attention to anything that's been happening? I'm going to be the foundation of Revolution here on this show. And anybody can talk anything they want, but this is my show, and I'll make my impact when I want to, against who I want to. And then Borash asks about Sean O'Hare, and Raven Rain steps in and says, before Palumbo can say anything, there's nothing to say. What happened on Monday doesn't matter anymore. My man took out O'Hare at Starrcade, and we're done with him. It doesn't matter how upset he is, but Chuck Palumbo is here on his own, and he's going to ride, and he is the cream of World Championship Wrestling. Then they walk off together. This gets 72 because I actually rated Raven because I wanted to actually give her some time. Unfortunately, she's underwhelming still because she's not that over. But still, way to build her up. But yeah, Palumbo doesn't care about anybody else who's been pictures for it because he's his own man. All right, and we're back with the next draft pick as Bischoff and Long are up there, and then Long makes his first pick, and he says, there's lots of great wrestlers on the WCW roster waiting for their moment. And I think this man is ready for his moment here in WCW as he picks the next member of the Revolution roster, Cash. Pop for that as Cash comes out. Again, mostly heel pop, but also recognition pop, and as he says, baby, Cash is on his own right now in WCW. As the announcer sort of put over, Helms is on the Nitro roster. And I've got all the respect in the world for Shane Helms because he helped tuck me to the top, but this is my time now. And I'm on my own, completely single, completely free for any ladies in the audience. And most importantly, for me to show off that I am going to be a star and I am Cash Money. And then Bischoff says, Shane's probably going to be upset about that, but what can you do? But my next member of the roster is a man who has a violent reputation, has caused chaos wherever he's went, but is a guy who can give as good as he takes and will make an impact on Nitro. And that man is Brother Ray. And pop for that as Brother Ray comes out and basically cuts a quick promo saying he's going to be on Nitro and he's going to kick some ass and take some names. And then he walks away. And before Cash is about to walk away, my Teddy says, Cash, I want you to make your debut tonight, right now, with your partner Reno, against Alex Wright and Eddy Guerrero in their last match as a team for now. Cash agrees, and the match is agreed to. So there we go. And someone making the graphic, I managed to make a mistake. Brother Ray should be on Nitro, Cash should be on Revolution, so just ignore that. Sorry, I figured I made the graphic, but I thought I double checked out. Oh well, shit happens. What can you do? No, this gets an 80 as Cash and Brother Ray are pretty decent, and we go to the ring after a commercial. And unfortunately, oof. Yeah, okay, so this hits the, so there are two things wrong with this match. First thing wrong with this match is this was the fourth time, so it got a penalty. And then, on top of it, it wasn't good as the other matches, so it got another penalty. So, that sucks. I mean, that's all I can say. But, okay, what I imagine here is, since this went so bad, is basically, the fans are unenthused because they know this is basically over. And, they're unhappy because their babyface team is breaking up, and they're not sure if the evil heel team is breaking up or not. So, they're sort of still cocky, and both teams are sort of going through their emotions because they're doing their own thing. But in the end, surprisingly, Tori Wilson comes down the ringside, and she gets on the ring apron and basically flirts with Cash. He gets off the ring apron. Reno yells at Cash, and then that allows Wright to basically hit him from behind with a big suplex and the double RTD to get the pinfall victory. As this gets a 56, Reno gets a 76, Cash gets an 84, Wright gets a 75, Chowder gets a 79. So looking at this, 77, 80. So yeah, it lost like 20 points because of the penalty, which is unfortunate, but I wanted to take the risk. So Alex Chavo, who seems a little surprised, walks back to the ring back to the back with Tori, and then as Cash is walks up to Reno, Reno drills him with a clothesline, picks him up, a power bomb, and sort of shrugs and says to Cash, "Sorry, boss's orders," and walks away. As this gets a 70, but notice there's no turn. Cash is still a heel. It's just he has been relieved of his duties as part of the Helms legacy, at least for now. Great. It's now time for the 12th pick in the draft, as Long takes the mic and says, "Over and over, I said Revolution is about the future, building the foundation of the future of professional wrestling here in WCW. I'll continue that pick with a man who may have our disagreements about some foundations of the universe. And I'm never going to walk his path, but he's a damn good wrestler. So please welcome to the Revolution roster, Keenan Sharp." Heel pop for that as Keenan comes out and basically, cuts his typical, I am now on the path in Revolution, and on that path, there will be blood, there'll be fire, there'll be destruction, but only if you walk behind me and follow my path will you be successful, as I will be in Revolution. And then Bischoff says, I like to shake things up. So, at Starrcade, there was a Starrcade street fight. And we saw 3 men be successful in that street fight. But now that one of them's in Revolution, I think it would be very interesting if the other one was in Nitro. So, welcome the next member of the Nitro roster, Ray LePen. Mixed pop for that, as crowd pops that the heels got broken up, but also, they don't like LePen either. And there's a bit of tension for a second, but then they shake hands like good evil heels, and then LePen takes mic and says, "Eric, I don't know if you picked me. Why?" He says you picked me just to mess with Sharp here, but as the most prominent international athlete in World Championship Wrestling, get boos because Ray Jr. and all the Cruiserweights are right there. Nitro will be the must-see place to see. And Teddy talked about the future. Well, with me, the international incident Ray LePen on Nitro, it'll be the place to be to see the future of WCW. As he walks away, 72, decent little stuff, as, Ray LePen is now on Nitro, and Keenan Sharp is part of Revolution. You can see there. So, big stuff there, as LePen is on Revolution, or on Nitro, and will be possibly a future big-time heel, and, Sharp has been very successful, so we're here in WCW. And overall, this got a 72, so decent stuff. And then we come back to commercial for a match as Johnny Lawler and Gail Kim, they just fight. It says it's double count after 4 minutes, but really the match basically almost immediately spills outside, and therefore begs them to both get back in the ring to no avail, and eventually they're just brawling all over. And the ref eventually has to call for the double countout, as this gets a 70, Joni gets an 87, Gail Kim gets a 66. And as the fight continues, Joni looks like she has the advantage and is going to powerbomb Gail Kim off the stage when Trisha Sky comes out, makes a save, Joni backs off, sort of smirks at the fallen Gail Kim and points at Trisha. And, Trisha helps Gail up, but Gail, isn't happy and says, "We're not friends. We're not partners. I want your belt sooner or later," and then walks away. As this gets an 89, really building up the women's division. Fun stuff. And after the commercial, we have the last of two of the last 4 picks in the draft, as Teddy Long says, "As we're getting further in the draft, playa, we gotta find those diamonds in the rough, those future stars, those people who haven't had a ton of success so far, but with the right opportunity and the right foundation, can create something great. And I'm proud to say the next pick for Revolution will be Ken Anderson. Anderson comes out to a decent pop, thanks Teddy, and says, I'll fight whoever put in front of me because I grew up fighting, whether it was long nights at the bars in Wisconsin as I'm rising up in this business, or as I've been in WCW. I'll take anybody on. And then Ken walks away and then Eric says, you see, Teddy, I know you had something up your sleeve for your last pick. As Teddy looks a little bit confused. But you see, you think you were going to pull over it, but you got to remember, Teddy, I was a man who pulled the ultimate trick on everybody in this business. And I'm going to do it again. So, welcome to the Nitro roster, and welcome to WCW The Truth. Decent pop as, yes, Ron Killings, The Truth, R-Truth, whatever you want to call him, comes out as Teddy is shocked, and, as The Truth comes out, Teddy asks him, we agreed, playa, that you were going to be on Power Revolution. And Truth is like, I'm here to tell the truth. And Teddy, the truth is, Eric, he had a better offer for me. So man, nothing personal, but I gotta do where those dollar bills are flying around. And that's gonna be on Nitro. Mixed spot for that as Eric and as the Truth walks away. And yes, the Truth is in WCW. So yeah, he is a signing here in WCW. Unfortunately, he's not that greatly over. He's high 50s because he hasn't been pushed great in WWE. But hey, this is about his time. I mean, this was past his NWA title run, but hey, he never got that opportunity. So we'll have to see what he does here in WCW. As this got a 69, and unfortunately, his gimmick got a 4, but hopefully that'll rise. And then we go backstage where, right and backstage area where Chavo's like, what the hell was that? And Tori's like, look, Chavo, I got all the respect in the world for you, but me and Alex agreed if we're going to be on our own, we got to be a little bit more aggressive and a little bit willing to push the limit if we want to have success in this company. Look at all the guys, Triumvirate, Helms, Booker, they're all willing to do anything to win the match. So Chad was like, so what? You're just going to do whatever you want to win, no matter the cost? And I was like, look, we're going to fight fire with fire, man. We're not going to disrespect the fans. We're not going to yell at anybody, but we're not going to let ourselves get screwed over. And I understand why you don't want to be part of that, but look, we had a good run. Let's leave as friends. Chavo's a little tension, but he shakes Chavo's hands. Alex then walks away, and then Alex turns to Tori and says, are you really ready for what we need to do? And Tori's like, it's been a tough year, but we can do this together. So there we go. Sort of something interesting going on with Alex and Tori, and as they're on their own here in Revolution. Then we have the last picks of the draft, which honestly, I was trying to do sort of a big surprise for the last pick of the draft, but it didn't quite turn out how I wanted. So basically, sort of a mediocre ending. John Cena be the last pick because we're not doing that way. But anyway, Revolution, Ron Simmons, as Long puts him over as a strong veteran presence. And then Bischoff says, lots of stars have come out of the Cruiserweight division, including this man. As he says, lots of men have been part of WCW from overseas and become stars, such as this man. Out comes Tajiri. And there we go. Last two picks, as this surprisingly gets a decent 77, as Simmons and Tajiri are both pretty good. But then, the last part of the show, it's our main event, which gets an 82, which is honestly kind of disappointing. Let me see here. What was the weak point? Let's see here. Storm. Okay, so this got an 82. Oh, I'm going to guess there was no storyline. Yes, there was no. Okay, I forgot to create a storyline for this. Oh well. Still back and forth, typical 6-man. Awesome powers over people. AJ gets a flying around. AJ and Ray Jr. I'm sure do some fun double teams. I'm sure there's some point a triple dive out by AJ, Ray, and Paul London. But in the end, Kidman is able to hit London with the Kid Crusher, mostly clean. and gets a pinfall victory. As gets an 82. Razor gets an 89. Lenny gets an 84. Lenny gets an 80. Storm gets an 81. Austin gets an 88. Kevin gets an 82. So yeah, if we look at things 6, 5, 3, 5, 12. So yeah, this could have been like an 83, 84 without me if I actually remembered the actual storyline. But we finished things out with an 82. Okay, so not our honestly, again, that's the part where I sort of did why I've done this split the way I have, including the men here, is with Revolution being part of the WCW network. I can do a little bit more shows and still get things over. But we'll see if there's any interesting mail, and then after that, we'll do some checks on the rest of the world, and as usual, then we'll go from there. So, oof, shit. That's unfortunate. Okay, that's really not great at all. Yeah, okay. Okay, I guess the WCW network is expanding to the UK, at least for the next year. God, that's really unfortunate. I'm really unhappy about that. Shit. Well, shit happens. What can you do? Ignore that. I mean, honestly, I can't show that. So somebody, as part of the Mayhem Tournament Pick'em, wanted Michelle McCool to be signed as their dev signing. So here she is, going off to America's Wrestling Queens to do some dev work. And that was just sort of a spoiler for some stuff, but hopefully nobody knows that. Anyway, if we look at the rest of the show, so hold on. Now I'm confused because I didn't know what I've actually shown you guys at the end of the year there. But hey, WWE had SmackDown, and at SmackDown, we had CM Punk defeating Mark Henry on the pre-show. Sadie Majors defeated Christy Cummings again in a 45. Molly Holly defeated Amber James, who is Amber O'Neil, making her debut in a tables match, okay, in an 88 of all things. Edge winning a squash, Triple H winning a squash, Undertaker defeated DDP, and Shawn Michaels and Big Show defeating the new improved Team Angle in a cage match in 99. So they got an 89 still. Let me see here. Did I show you guys? Let's see here. Did OVW Weekly Loop? I think I showed you guys this. Justice, Rico TV Pewter. Because you okay, I mean, let me just go over this real quick. I'm like 90% sure I have already, but just in case. Well, in Wildside. Okay, so Christmas Chaos was the big show. We had Raymond defeating Ryan Drago in 41, Chance Prophet defeating Matt Cross in 53, Tom Zuma Howard defeated Tony Jones to retain the NWA title, and Andre Baker and Trevor Rhodes and Stone Mountain defeated Shane Balor, Double C, and Lashley in a 54, Kent Cole and Rick Michaels defeated Ortiz and Daz in a 52, Travis Tomko defeating Keith Walker in a 60, TNT defeating Rambola and Graves retained the Wildside Tag Titles in a 65, Akabono defeated Jimmy Rave and Marcus Militek to retain the NWA National title in 61, Lazarus defeated Cassio O'Reilly for the Junior Heavyweight title, and Jason Cross defeating Adam Jacobs for the NWA Wildside title. And then they had the Weekly House Show, which had Ken Suzuki defeating Brian Drago, Dagan Briggs defeating Matt Cross in a 46. We had JC Daz defeating Rain Man. We had Adam Ortiz, Double C, and Lashley defeating Tomko, Cole, and Morgan in a 53. Tony Jones defeating Sonny Siaka in a 56. And Trans Prophet defeating Chris Rambola in a 63. And Suicidal Tendencies, which is John Phoenix and Adam Jacobs, defeated Lazarus and Tigers in 65, and in the main event, Jason Cross defeating Jimmy Rave. And then on W Wildside TV, yeah, that's important. Okay, so, and then American Wrestling Queens. Let's see here. Weekly show, we had ODB defeating Allison Danger, and Schultz defeating Nikki Rocks in a 63, Anti-Authority defeating Osaka and Vanessa Harding in a 62, and Cheer Melissa retaining the title between Ariel in a cage match in a 59. Then at Ladies' Night, we had Mischief and Becky Bayless defeat ODP and Tracy Brooks. Madison Claire, Lacey, and Ariel defeated Allison Danger and Meg Woman in a 60. And Osaka defeated Beth Phoenix in a 59. And Social defeated Nikki Rocks again in a 65. And Cheer Melissa defeated Kim Nielsen to retain the title in a 63. And then HWA, not Jimmy Jacobs defeated John Cena in a tables match in a 41. Barry Bradburn defeated Billy Baxton at 26. Ekmo Folk 2 and Excalibur defeated Rocky Romero, BJ Whitmer in a Weird Teams match. Max Striker defeated Ray Steele in a 57. And then the other HOA Weekly show, which was last week. We had Alex Shelley defeat John Cena in a 46. Alan Jacobs defeat Barry Bradburn in a 46. Rocky Romero defeat Jimmy Jacobs in a 48. And Echo Fatu defeating Scott Vick in a 52, and Chuck Taylor defeated Whitmer in a 53, and then Matt Striker defeated Ricky Shane Page in a 52 as well. So there we go. I don't think anything. Let me just go through the shows of me. News. Reset 2004. Results. Let's see here. Oh yeah, M-Pro had Grace Suzuki versus Shibata in 85, and Kid Guzman and Sasumi Matsuki. He had Hideki Nishida and Chad Collier for the tag titles in 74. Because of course they did. And then there was Starrcade. And I think I showed you guys everything else of note. One other note as far as like company news. Oh, is AAA failed medium size, which is unfortunate for them. But yeah, Propane Pro Wrestling, otherwise known as a show previously owned by Blue Meaning Real Life, change your product from classic balance to family friendly pro wrestling. Yes, okay, this is hilarious to me. A company with a porn star for an owner, Jasmine St. Clair, and Vince Russo as the booker, is going to do family friendly pro wrestling with Road Warrior Animal, Don Harris, Master P, and Lizzie Valentine. Sure. But that is actually it. Like, this is a much longer video than normal because of the whole draft and everything. But yeah, so again, you guys will see things starting next week. Both shows will be separate, and people will be making their official debuts as part of the rosters. You'll have to see who shows up on both from there. Like, it'll basically be undercard people and any debuts, and maybe some surprises. Maybe it's not. Maybe some call-ups. Maybe not. You'll just have to see. But this is it for now. If you enjoy this, go ahead and give a like. Comment below when you're enjoying, not enjoying, and subscribe to the channel for lots of TEW 2020 content, including this series, my New Japan series, and possibly some other fun stuff. But that's it for now, so talk to you later, and adios. Have a good one.